Hello you guys, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to be sharing with you guys how I passed D219, D220, and D221. I also want to mention that I completed 23 credit hours for this term. I am so proud of myself. My term started in March and I finished all of the classes that I could move up July 31st. So I had until August 31st, but now for the month of August, I can kind of relax and just gear up for term 4. Okay. I also want to start by saying, if you have not watched my how I passed D218 interpersonal growth and development, make sure that you watch that video or save it to your watch later playlist. So, okay. So I kind of did these classes out of order because my instructor said that it didn't matter how I did them. So, but for the sake of not confusing you, I'm going to do it chronologically. So the first one I'm going to talk about is D219, which is scholarship and nursing practice. That one is a 3 credit hours. So for this class, what you're going to do is you have to get a John Hopkins certificate. So you're going to go to your course, your course material. You're going to work through the modules. And then at the end, you'll get this certificate saying that you passed, and you have to get a 90 on all of the questions. So this part took me a little bit longer because at first I thought I could just kind of fudge my way through and I wasn't passing. So I'm like, okay, let me stop and let me just actually do what it is I'm supposed to do. So I went through, actually read the material, and then answered the questions along the way, and then did the John Hopkins quiz. And I did have to take it a few times because I didn't always pass at the 90%. You can take the quizzes as many times as you need to, but you definitely have to get that 90% with each chapter or module, I think is what it's called. So I did that on July 22nd. Another thing that you need for this class is you need to get your city training. It's CITI training, and that basically just talks about when you're doing a study or research, how to do it ethically. So you will go to this website, your instructor will share it with you, and you'll go through the modules or whatever, and then I think there's a quiz. That you have to do for each one. So you'll go through that, and then once you're done, you are going to download their certificate. I think somebody just tried to message me. You will download the certificate. Go ahead and save that. Now your John Hopkins one, that one will automatically populate on your portal, but the CTI one, you will have to turn that in when you turn in your task 1. So, okay, so the task for this class is basically you have to write a essay basically, and you have to find a research article and a non-research article. And I struggle with the non-research article, but what helped me was attending a cohort and then my clinical instructor giving me an email about what qualifies as research versus non-research. Because when they said non-research, I'm like, oh, I can just find a blog post and do it. But no, that's not it. So make sure you attend those cohorts and sign up with your course instructors about that. So for this one, like I said, it's you're doing an evidence-based literature analysis, I guess you could say. So they just have you answer questions, and then I'm trying to see an example. Okay, so they have you, so it has you do your city certification, what's the clinical practice problem, your PICO components, which you'll learn about in this class, an evidence-based question, and then you'll do your research article, and then you talk about the background, the methodology, the level of evidence, which you'll learn from the readings, and then you'll do an analysis, talk about the analysis of the data, and then was this study ethical, and then you'll talk about the quality of the research, so you have to give it a rating, and then you'll talk about the results or the conclusion, And then next, you will, you'll answer whether or not this article answers your evidence-based practice question, because you have to come up with your own. And they do have workshops as to how you can generate your own question for that. So then after that, then they want you to find the non-research based article. You'll talk about the type of evidence that they use, the level of evidence. You'll talk about the quality of this article, and then the recommendations that the author has. And then you will suggest a practice change. And then you will also talk about who are the key holders or the key stakeholders for this article. I keep wanting to say research, but it's article because technically it's not research. And then you'll also talk about the barriers to implementing the practice change and the strategy for overcoming the barrier. And then you'll also talk about how to measure the outcome of the recommended practice change that you talked about previously in the assignment. Make sure that you cite your sources properly. That's one thing that got me, is like I was not citing my sources properly, and I was using Microsoft, like just the reference like software that comes with it, but I guess it's the version 6, not the version 7, so that's why it wasn't going through and it wasn't approved. Oh, so that's one thing I forgot to tell you guys. So I did this task, and I got a revision sent back because my second article was not a non-research article, because like I said, I didn't understand it. So what did I do? I went to the cohorts, learned about it, read more into it, and then looked back through my course instructor's email. And then what I did was I found articles that were non-research. I sent her probably about 4 of them. She said at a quick glance, she's like, these look like non-research ones. So then after I did that, I took the suggestions that she made, because she also looked at my revision and said, these are the revisions that you need to make. And then she said, you also need to make an appointment with the writing center. And once you do that, have them copy me in on the email, and then it'll populate for you. That's like one of the steps that you have to do for the revision. So I also had to meet with the writing center. And then I just got my questions answered about references, because it was only like a 30-minute appointment. So all of the time was spent on making sure that my references were right, because we had to go back through and do some things. And then I just went ahead and told them, well, my professor said that this was a non-research article, so I feel like I have that aspect down. So after that, I rewrote my non-research section of my paper, sent it back to my professor along with the articles. She said, it looks good, go for it, try to resubmit it. So I did that, waited my days, came back, it was good. So that is D219. Now I'm going to do D220. I'll just say it like that, which is information technology and nursing practice. So for this one, it's only one task. Of course, read the course material. Let me view the task. So for this one, you have to identify like a healthcare setting, and like an electronic health record system that could be used in the setting. So since I work in labor and delivery, I talk about the systems that we use in labor and delivery. So I wrote about that, and then I wrote about the purpose of the electronic health record, because you have to do that as well. And then you have to use a specific example of how the EHRS is used to make decisions promoting high quality patient care in healthcare settings. Identify a barrier or a challenge using this system. So I just talk about like the frustrations that I've just heard, like from my time being in labor and delivery, about the system that we use. And then it says, describe the role of the nurse in maintaining data integrity while overcoming the barrier or challenge. And then you have to explain overcoming the barrier or challenge to improve patient outcomes, and then explain how overcoming this barrier/challenge will advance health literacy. And then the second part of that, you're going to identify one health information system and then one technology one. And then they basically want you to do the same thing, like how you did with the first one. And then you're going to talk, and then part C, sorry guys, I know I'm talking fast, but it's because I'm trying to put all these videos together. but I don't want it to be super long. Okay. So then part C, you're going to describe how relevant laws and policies guide the use of these systems. And so you have to give a specific example of like an American Health Information Management like system, and how it's the nurse's responsibility to remain ethically responsible. And then you're also going to give an example of a Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act legislation, and explain the nurse's responsibility regarding protected healthcare information. And then, of course, make sure you have proper citing and have proper communication. So that's where like you can use the articles from the Writing Center to help you, or set an appointment with the Writing Center. And then also, as far as like professional communication, that to me is like running your paper through Grammarly. I'm so glad that WGU has that, and we don't have to pay extra for it. I know it's probably built in somewhere into our costs, but we don't have to do an outside source to get it. So yeah, for this class, I just wrote over the systems that I use in the hospital. If you do not work in a hospital setting, I guess you could Google some or ask people that you know in the healthcare system about the systems that they use and what are kind of the frustrations that they have with it. So this class was fairly easy. I didn't have any revisions for this class. I gotta keep moving. Okay, so my next class was D221, which is Organizational Systems in Healthcare Transformation. This was the one that I did the earliest, I think, after the interpersonal growth one. But for this class, you have one task that you have to do. It says that your goal for this task is to clearly and concisely propose a recommendation that addresses and identifies system-level safety issue that affects patients within a healthcare setting, such as your practice or colleagues' practice, using convincing evidence to promote the necessity of change. Now, within the paper, you talk about like a safety concern. You talk about the data, the impact, the value, an evidence-based practice change, a high reliability organization, potential barriers, shared decision-making and outcome measure, and then a care delivery model and the impact on the care delivery model. Okay, so I found my actual document. So for this class, the D221 practice improvement plan proposal, so you have to write about a safety concern, and I wrote about medication errors and the effects that it has, and how it's preventable, and how we can reduce medication errors, and the effects on patients and staff, and yeah, again, the effects on patients and staff, and then evidence-based recommendation from an article that I found, and then the potential barriers, how to minimize the barrier, what are my recommendations, and then how you evaluate the results. And then, of course, like I said before, you have to talk about 2 current care delivery models. So I wrote about one, and then that's pretty much it. But it's basically just like you're writing about a safety concern that is happening in hospitals, or like healthcare, not necessarily hospitals, but it could be healthcare. But you guys, that is all that I think that I have for this video. So that was D219 scholarship in practice, D220, which I just forgot what it was, and then D221, organizational systems and healthcare transformation. And all of those classes I got done in the month of July. If you guys just work at it and sacrifice, and to me, writing about things that I actually care about is what motivated me to get these papers in and out. Because it's like, if you're, I don't know, I just feel like when they give you a topic, find a way to connect it to something that you actually care about. Because when I was writing about these papers, it was just so, I don't know, it was like, I don't want to say it was easy, but it was very like cathartic for me to write about, because I'm like, these are things that I'm actually passionate about. So yeah. And then the other thing is, make sure that you are writing with the rubric. Oh, so one thing that I learned from the Writing Center, which I don't know if I knew this or either I forgot, is when you are writing your paper to the rubric, a lot of times they'll give you a template, but oh, it's probably not gonna let me do it because I already passed the class. But in the rubric, if you click like right here, a lot of times there's a link that will like either take you to a module or will take you to like a website or something that will show you how to either write about what am I trying to say? That will help you with your references or tell you how to find like a non-research article or research article. Let me see if I can go back to 219. So like for 219, when it talks about the Pico components, if you click right here, it's like a square with the arrow, it'll bring you to like a web page that talks about like Pico components and stuff like that and how you can relate it to the research that you want to do. So again, that's when you're in the assignment right there, go down to the rubric and then you can click on the little links. So like if you have a question about anything, evidence-based question, click on that to figure out how you can create your own evidence-based question. Let's see. Yeah, I think that's all that I have. Oh, sorry. And then down here for the rubrics, and then again, this is for D219, so look for your other classes too. But they'll have web links all the way at the bottom. And then this is Appendix B, question development tool. It's probably the same article. Yeah, it's probably the same article. But like this one down here, Appendix E, research evidence appraisal tool. So make sure you pay attention to those links. And I would have never known that if you, I can't remember if I did know or if I forgot, but when I did the Writing Center appointment, he had me click on the links to, I don't know, figure stuff out. So this is what you'll use to appraise your article for that. Okay, that is all that I have for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure that you like it, subscribe as well, and share with me your like experiences with these classes. Like I wish we had more WGU students share their experience. I tried to tell as many girls in my clinicals that they need to start their YouTube channel so that way they can tell about their experience, because I'm a mom of two with 2 toddlers working and I like labor and delivery. And so I may not be able to relate to everybody, but if we had more people sharing their stories, you know, more people might relate to you, because maybe you don't have kids and maybe you're interested in ER, or maybe, you know, your kids are out of the house and you're interested in oncology. And so people want to follow that experience. So if you're watching this, don't be afraid to open up that camera or turn on that camera and share your story. It is valuable and it is needed. All right, you guys, that is all that I have for you guys. Happy studying, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.